guys, welcome back to Navigating Neva. I am your host, Neva Nicole, and this is...
Wesley King. Thanks for being here, everybody.
And tonight we have a special guest. We have with us Miss Dana. Tell us more.
Hi, everybody. I'm always so glad to get to join in and share my story. And so my name is Dana Harvey. I am originally from Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada. I started my swim teaching career there in 1987, I think. I have been teaching swimming lessons for now almost 37 years, and I live in Roanoke, Virginia currently. So in 2001, I moved from Canada, from the West Coast all the way to the East Coast here. And I moved to a place where I didn't know anybody, and I took my then infant daughter to the pool, and somebody was like, "Oh, wow, she swims so good. Did she do lessons?" And my famous last words were, "Well, I used to teach." And then now 23 years later, 24 years later, here I am teaching in Roanoke. I run the Swim with Miss Dana Swim School. I teach about 250 children a week. And I'd say right now, probably about 10, maybe 15% of my program are children who, what I call my special learners. So I've got a lot of kids in my program on the autism spectrum. And then I've got a few other special learners along the way. So I'm teaching a lot of kids. This is crazy time of year right now. But I'm always happy to meet up with other people within our profession and talk about water safety and drowning prevention and all of the awesome things that we are able to accomplish together.
Absolutely. And not only are you a teacher, you're a popular podcast guest. You guys think Penn Affleck and other famous people all over podcasts.
Yeah,
Ms. Dana, I think she said this is her 13th podcast this week.
It is not. Get out of here.
Sorry. And my point is, you're not just in demand as a swim instructor, but also as a presenter.
Yes.
An educator. And not to sell your program short is what I'm saying. It's not just you have a Miss Dana program. You also have a full-on I Will Wait program that you presented to the autism community recently. I know we've had some connections there with some education. Would you take the audience a little bit through not just the I Will Wait program? Let's start there, and then maybe we'll take a second and talk about how that bridged into the autism and special needs community. I have a daughter on the spectrum as well, so it's been a great place in my heart personally as well. But if you would help the audience understand the I Will Wait program, and then carry us into how it got into the special needs world.
Well, so I have created in the last couple of years, it's called Where There's Water, I Will Wait. And it kind of it's something that I've always taught within my program. I teach small group lessons, so 3 to 4 kids, usually 4. I don't do one-on-one lessons. I don't ever. And with my kids with special learning needs, they're always in integrated classes. So I had to figure out a way to keep the kids, sitting on the edge of the pool, waiting their turn. And so for years, that's just what I did. On our first day, the rule is sit down on your bottom and put your hands on your lap, and we wait our turn. I guess almost 3 years ago now, I took some time off from teaching. I had an injury that I was healing from. And I went on a road trip from Roanoke to Albuquerque, New Mexico, and I came back. And during that time, I visited about 750 preschools, daycares, and then schools that work with children with autism. And so in that first trip, that's when I realized that we really need to be doing a better job talking about water safety, because not in one single school was there any information about water safety. So,
and that was just your first year, and that trend will continue. Just for the audience to understand that 750 schools, that's 3 years ago. And keep paying attention, folks, because you're going to hear a trend about the disconnect between schools and water safety education. Sorry, Dana, go ahead.
No, you're good. So, we as an industry, we have all the statistics. Drowning is the #1 cause of death in children under 5. Children with autism are at a 160 times greater risk of drowning. So I'm going to these places. I guess I don't know what I was expecting, but I was not expecting 0 schools to have any information about water safety or drowning.
Right.
Like
It's a
that.
frightening bar, right? You didn't know
I
what
mean,
you were
it
going to
was
have, but they
wild.
definitely set it low. Yeah.
There were a couple places that I went that maybe had a pamphlet about swim lessons,
Sure.
but again, we can get into that conversation. I don't believe that swim lessons equals water safety.
Great point.
So I have these conversations with the teachers, and they're like, well, tell me about your program. So I did, and they were like, you don't do one-on-one classes. How do you keep the kids from putting themselves in the water or getting up and walking away? I'm like, well, the word wait is extremely powerful. And that's from the get-go what my kids have been doing. So then I finished that trip in like November, I guess. And I get most of my best ideas in my car. And I was driving. And I'm like, you know what? There has to be something. If I could come up with
There's got to be a better way.
Well, and the word wait just kept coming up and coming up and coming up. And for me, it was not ever something that I really had put much thought behind, because it's just, that's how I taught. And so I came up with the mantra, where there's water, I will wait. Not where there's a pool or where there's a lake or where there's a bathtub. I wanted to make it inclusive of all water, because if we can keep the kids out of the water at inappropriate times, we're going to watch these drowning rates come down. So that whole thing came together. And then because I'm a type A and I like things just and so, I was like, well, what animal, so that kids could relate to something, a cute character, what animal waits? Well, so I typed that into Google, and I think fourth on the list was whales.
Bingo.
Well, we don't have to talk about the fact that whales wait because they're predatory. We don't have to talk about that.
We don't know why they wait.
No, we're not going to talk about that part.
Right.
They're just cute. So I created the waiting whales, and they are the way that I share my message with the kids. Love it. The parents think it's just so cute and cool. And each of my whales is a character, like Winter. Oh, I'm backwards on my thing. So Winter is the oldest. She's the beluga whale. And then Wes the whale. That's why Wes likes my car, Nicole, because of that.
Yeah.
And then I have an orca whale that's Wilson, and Wilson is the representative of autism. I have a narwhal. Her name is Winnie, and she has a cochlear implant. It was really important to me when I created all of this that parents who had children with special learning needs, either a visible or, an invisible, knew that I was listening to them, and I wanted to create a character that their kids could really connect with.
They could see themselves in.
Yeah. Well, and just, it's more fun to know that you're being represented. Or in this case, I don't even think the kids really care. It really is about the parents knowing that I hear you. I hear what you are saying about these different components of water safety. I see your hopelessness in the fact that I guess this is just what we have to put up with. I guess our kids are just going to be more prone to drowning. And then Willow's the dolphin, and everybody gets flipped out about that. They're like, she's a dolphin. I'm like, yeah, not all whales are dolphins, but all dolphins are whales. So there's your fun.
So we're learning biology, we're learning oceanography,
I'm just so useful. I can do some of it in Spanish too, if you need me to.
Even better. And I think, Nicole, to some of the things we've been talking about this podcast is how we deliver messages, right? The last few weeks we've talked about how not to barge into your boss's office like a bull in China shop. But I think what you're also saying, Dana, is as an instructor, and Nicole, what do you think too? As an instructor, how do you approach the group lesson format? How do you get all the children to understand simple philosophies? How do you get the parents buy-in? Right? What do you think, Nicole?
Well, I think I just shared her stuff on so I didn't really do an intro to how I met her.
Oh, yes, please.
Because she has the Whale I Will Wait program, and I have the book I Will Wait. My book's much shorter and not as exciting, but we're very similar in the fact that we've been teaching, and we both, as teachers, and I'm sure other educators out there share this with us, but we just tell the kids to wait their turn, and that's not a foreign concept to teachers. I do realize that this is not what the parent does with their child or with what every parent does with their child, but I have for my whole life had kids weight on the wall, weight on a pad, weight on the sit crisscross applesauce. Like they're always waiting their turn. And they do group lessons, and there's a big controversy between group lessons and private lessons. And you have to wait in a group lesson, but I think the waiting is an important lesson. And I think the competition, or I don't know if that's the best word for it, but when I've got my 3 and 4 year olds, they really like to see what the other peer did.
Yes.
I try to explain to parents, I don't know if your kid will do better in one or the other, but this age kid, they really want a small group. And I think parents are so afraid of a group lesson that they're not getting the attention they need. But she mentioned she does small group lessons. I do small group lessons.
There you go.
And that's important. But she brought me her pads. I'm in Georgia. She's in Virginia. She drove straight down 95 to my front door, and I have them. And I had a new teacher, and she said, well, I don't know how I'm going to teach this group of 4, and it was just 4 kids, and 2 were really confident, and 2 were a little bit more hesitant, all the same level kids, same age kids, but some were more eager. And I said, oh, we have you covered. It was her first day. I said, we've got these mats. And so I pulled them out and we put them on the deck, and that's where my picture on Facebook came from. But my teachers love them, and we've adapted them into our program, and they look just like that. And the kids love them, and they love picking their character. And, you know, our deck, it depends on where you're at, I guess. But sometimes they'll tug your suit, and it kind of ruins your suit. And then mom doesn't really want you to sit on the deck, so maybe sit on
or it's hot on your rear end.
Towel soaked. So the mats are very useful, and they work very well.
Yeah,
spot on.
The kids do, they connect with it, you know, like in my group, I lay down, they don't get to pick. I just put out whatever's there. And, you know, and I've got it, when I did the original run, we did red and blue. The red don't stand up as good as the blue. But you know, so the kids, do you want red or blue? Who do you want? Pick Matt, sit down on your bottom, and let's
kids
roll.
Are teachable. Parents, it takes a harder time, but kids are teachable. And one of the jokes I make to parents is, you think you're waiting now? Wait till your child plays right field in T-ball. They're going to sit up for 3 hours. So put things in perspective. And to your point, waiting's okay. Coordinating, right, and understanding where that space is and having that framework. So whether you have the placement or not, I think the takeaway here for me and the listening audience is, it's okay to tell a parent and a child, I'm not ready for you yet.
Yeah.
I own the lesson. I own the time. I own the space. And you will wait for me, because then I can give you everything you need. And so, again, I know this is we all have heard it from all the swim lessons and all. Well, I want to do it this way. That's cool. But maybe just wait a second. Well, anyway, I digress. But yes, I think it's so valid to just remind.
This really, it's not a lot to do with, you know, I mean, I use it in swim lessons. I don't need it. I didn't create this for me. You know, I didn't create it for my lessons. I hope to be able to help other instructors with it. But
that's kind of why go ahead.
I want to help parents, because that's where the disconnect. In 37 years of teaching, I have never one time had a child drown in swimming lessons. Like never, not one time ever.
Well, they can't drown on the deck, right? You can't drown on the deck.
Right. When you're sitting and waiting, you can't.
Yeah.
You know, but we've all seen videos of group swim lessons where, you know, the instructor's far away and the child's in the water. We've all, and even
water being the key too. Sorry, hot tubs, water being the key. Sorry,
well,
exactly.
It's all the water. And when we are with these kids once a week for 30 minutes or twice a week for 30 minutes, who's with them or in the water or around water the rest of the time? It's parents. So creating this program to help parents truly understand that water safety does not equal swim lessons.
Right. There's a bunch of things that go between that plus and equal sign to get, Yeah.
There's no just swim lessons, water safety. That doesn't exist. Neither do flotation devices equal water safety. Neither do fences, gates, alarms. They don't equal water safety. They are all very important components of it, of water safety as a whole. But if what we were teaching, if what our industry was teaching worked in and of itself, we would not be seeing the highest number of drowning rates ever.
And I think that's a good point in recognizing the fact that we can affect change, to your point, of the autism community and how you've taken what you've done in the pool. And now I know Rebecca Thompson. And could you talk a little bit about how other industries, right? I work with the medical fitness industry. Nicole and I are working with some tourism stuff and an event. How does another industry accepted you? I know the answer because I know how much they are not preconditioned. Tell us, the audience, your experience when the autism world and the autism professionals and the autism educators heard your message. Were they excited? Did they jump out of their chairs? Tell me more.
Pretty much.
They did.
And I can't wait in about a week to be able to make an even bigger announcement. I can't yet, but I'm working on it. So again, I didn't create this concept I created it for a little boy 7 years ago whose name is Jackson, who was nonverbal and an eloper and loved risk. And, so he got the very first blue mats. He got the very first kickboards. That's how it all started.
Nonverbal. Everybody hear that? Nonverbal?
Nonverbal.
Sorry, I want the audience to hear that.
He's 10 years old.
Yeah.
Now he's still nonverbal, but he absolutely knows the rules around water.
Yeah.
And his parents, again, I had to employ them coming into this. They had to be a part of this whole learning process. So at the pool with lessons, when it wasn't Jackson's turn, he went and sat on a blue mat, a blue kickboard. And then we worked together. And as he progressed in lessons and in his skill set, some days it was a really great day and he could have his blue mat in the gutter right at the side of the pool. Other days it wasn't a good day. We did lots of stimming and just couldn't get it together as far as, not wanting to put ourselves in the water. So we just took the blue kickboard and we put it up on the pool deck.
Educators understand that. And when you brought that to the world of outside the pool, they got that.
Well, and I knew, and it's so funny why would they not accept it? Because it was really created for them. It's so funny how it goes full circle for me. But the autism community has embraced what I'm teaching and this whole concept of the water safety kit, because I believe first and foremost, I am working extremely hard to educate and empower parents.
Bingo.
That I don't want to sell them a water safety kit just so they have one more thing in their house that they bought for their kids that they're not ever going to use. That does not matter to me, but I am educating them and I am empowering them every step of the way. And then this is just a tangible tool that they can utilize, starting in their home. So we talk about bathtubs.
Bingo.
We talk about the pool is closed. So for those of you that haven't seen it, so the water safety kit comes in 3 parts. I have a red barricade tape that says closed, I will wait. Okay, so this, if we can envision a bathroom setting, we put it wall to wall across the bathtub, and we put it over the faucet handles. It is closed. And every child, I don't care if they're 18 months old and neurotypical or 10 years old and on the spectrum, this is going to be eye-catching.
They're going to catch it.
And again, with repetition, we're talking about closed. It's closed. We don't go in it. We don't access it. It's closed. It's closed. It's closed.
Fire, burn hot. Hot.
And it's just like you said, Wes, it's about repetition. It's about practice. When we just teach them once a week, it takes longer for any child to learn rules and boundaries. But so by handing this over to the parents to say, all right, parents, now you have a huge role in this. And again, in the autism community right now, there was missingkids.org put out an article about a month ago, I think, and they said that there were 80, I had it here just a sec. There were 82 fatalities last year in the autism community due to wandering. 82. 75 of them were drowning. 75. If there were 75 kids that got hit in a parking lot because their parents just let them go from the door to their car, all hell would be breaking loose.
Well, and the other, and not to to divert from that tragic information. But another component of what I think we're talking about with the mat, it's tangible, it's movable. If I go to a hotel, if I go to a water
Yes.
park,
You can change
and
it. Yes.
and parents or audience members listening to this podcast, if you've worked with neurodivergent children or adults or had them in classrooms or just want to learn more, you know how consistency is important in that environment for any child. And when I take you out of that environment for choice or for fun or for whatever, I have to think about sounds and space and sights more so than I would with somebody that doesn't have those challenges or difficulties.
Yeah.
And this mat and this system, whether you buy the system or not, it's the concept of how can I create similar rules?
Yes.
Well, this mat goes wherever I go. This tape, so the child sees it, whether it's a lake, whether it's a country club, whether it's a swim school, and they can start to assimilate that mat. And if you have your own one, do it. The point, though, is how are we giving control and education to the parents,
Yes.
to the operators, to the educators, and saying this is real. And I think, and I keep going back to it, but it was such a big light bulb moment, I think, in the last 6 months or a year or so, Dana, as the autism programs and the webinars and the conferences have not only opened their doors for you, but have said, we didn't know. We didn't know that these tools were in place. We didn't know how much crossover is needed from aquatics to drowning prevention to education to neurodivergence. And so now as we look at autism, angelfish and autism swims and these other programs, this isn't interfering with that.
No.
This isn't interfering with any swim school,
No.
right? And Nicole uses it. It's just
my
a
intent
tool.
was not to.
Right. That's where I'm going next. Yeah.
Yeah. My intent was never to replace anything,
Right.
or my intent was to say what I looked at and saying, well, what we're doing is not working.
Bingo.
I mean, we have, and you have to admit that that is true, because if what we were doing was working, these numbers would.
There's more swim schools now than there's ever been, and not a knock on franchise.
No.
There's more franchises. But to your point, we're offering more services to more communities. I know there's challenges in play, but there's more availability of brick and mortar swim schools and swim offerings than there ever has been in this country.
Yeah.
Well, let me intervene here.
Please.
So I've been a longtime swim instructor from a few different places that I won't name, and they all tell you that you're teaching the parent as well as the child. You know, we're educating. Even when we start with the parent-child classes, we tell all of our brand new.
They're called parent-child classes.
Right.
They're
you're
called
not teaching the child, you're teaching the parent.
Yes.
And I don't think that we ever intended not to teach the parent. I think like any parent that comes to the pool with a kid in tow and another kid they're grabbing and a car carrier, it's very overwhelming when we hand them a newsletter brochure that we think they're going to read that they're never going to read.
Yeah.
But Ms. Dana
with the registration to sign up. Yeah.
Right. But Ms. Dana makes it a requirement, I believe, for her students to buy this. And there's I wanted to say that you do require that, but why have you made that? Why are you adamant about that? Why have you included that with your program? I think I know why, but I wanted to get you to answer that for the audience.
Well, it needs to be, again, something that is used. I've never had a drowning in swim lessons, with or without this system.
Sure.
Actually being a tangible system. But to help parents, again, to feel like they are in control.
Bingo. Say it again.
Around water, right? So when it's bath time, we go into the bathroom, we sit on our mat, parents get their shampoo and toys and towels and stuff. And then, I tell my parents, that's when you put your cell phone down. So one of my mantras is cell phones down so children don't drown.
Preach on.
And it starts in the bathroom. I said, your child deserves you to have 100% eyes on them at all times when they're in the bathtub. So, then we open the tape together, we get in, we have a bath, and blah, blah, blah. And then when we're done, we get out, we close the tape, we talk about the water's closed, we sit on our mat, and then we leave the bathroom. If I can have my parents on board working on this concept every single day that they bathe their children, how much more quickly am I going to have children who will not go anywhere near water because they know where there's water, I will wait. My family's taken on vacation with them. I've got pictures that have come from the beach, from the lake, from the hotel pool.
Yes.
And they take it. They don't have to take the whole thing of red tape. They take a hunk of red tape and some blue tape, and it is portable. It was designed to be that way. And one of the things that especially again, my kids who are on the spectrum, when you go away, they need to understand
Bingo.
that the rules at swim lessons and the rules in
Mhm.
our house in the
There
bathtub
you go.
are going to apply outside. So I talk about encouraging exposure, especially for my children who are neurodivergent. If you go to a park where there is a pond, you take this stuff with you and you spend time practicing. That
Like
is
a picnic,
close.
almost like a picnic, not dinner. But we've used it
Exactly.
just like we're gonna have a picnic. We're gonna sit out and put our stuff
Yep.
out. And anyway, go ahead. But it's a
Well,
very similar mindset.
we go to the beach, we take a piece of red tape and we decide how far from the water line do we feel comfortable, and that's closed. So we don't go over on that side. Here's our mats, here's our waiting area. But the reason why so for any new family coming into my program, it's part of their equipment. It's not expensive. It's $59, but it is a life-saving tool. And my parents have told me, I mean, one of my moms, she's got 4 little ones, all now 2 are still in the program and 2 have graduated. But she said, Dana, it feels like I have an extra set of hands. When I go to the pool, I put down the boys' mats, they sit down on them. I can get everything organized, we set out lunch, all of those things. I have an extra set of hands, and my children know what this means.
Bingo. What I love that you talk about getting pictures of your students on vacation. My wife gets them. We all love getting pictures of our students swimming. But I would bet you dollars to donuts, you love the picture of the mat more. You love the first picture saying, look, they waited.
Yeah.
And in my mind, the second picture is great. They learned how to swim, but I couldn't teach them how to swim if they didn't safely enter the pool, if I didn't safely prepare them. And so I just get great idea. I think of a portfolio of a collage of all the different images of kids waiting with the tools and the resources, and then the swim lesson. And I think that's a piece we miss sometimes.
I think my favorite picture that ever came into me was from a mom who they had their mats at the pool, but she took a picture of somebody else at the pool who had a mat. They didn't know each other because it's a pretty big program. And she sent me a picture. She goes, whales in the wild, whales in the wild.
Oh, that's so cool.
I mean, it's neat to see. And now when people are reaching out to me about swim lessons, they're using words like, we're really looking for a program that teaches water safety. And
it's a big difference.
To me, then it's like, I'm changing how parents are thinking about it. Swimming lessons are not just some, random activity or something that we just do. Like, there is a point and purpose to this. And the sooner that we can get our kids in this idea of where there's water, I will wait. We're going to keep them from what I call accessing water independently, inappropriately.
Right.
What I think you just gave the listening audience a homework assignment. If you're a parent or you're listening because you like us, or you're my mom, or you're Nicole's aunt and uncle, and you're awesome, your homework assignment is to ask how the program, your swim lesson program, is doing water safety. Yes. And if you're in aquatics and you're listening because you're awesome and you want to be better in aquatics, I think your homework assignment is to tell the world how your swim lesson program adds to water safety, so that the vocabulary goes up the chain and down the chain. And if you're just promoting swim lessons, I think we would all agree you're missing the mark. And if you're a parent and your child just talks about swim lessons, then you should go and ask your program, hey, the swim lessons are great. My kid learns how to swim, but tell me about water safety. And if the person you talk to looks at you and goes, then you should call one of us and we'll help them.
Yeah. Well, so I want to add another point real quick.
Go.
We have I own Georgia Swim School, but the Greater Atlanta Water Alliance is a nonprofit. And tonight they had their, I don't know what you call it, they had their
fundraiser
orientation for the new people. So they are giving scholarships to people who can come to us. And I've always looked for a way or someone to fund Miss Dana's mats, because I think they're very important. But I think a big component from a lot of individuals or schools that I know of is they are missing the safety. And if places like Gaza, like the Greater Atlanta Water Alliance. Such a long name that Craig had. That's Craig
It is. Yeah.
in Atlanta. I mean, we all have our long names here, but you know, his is a little bit of
Gaza,
yes,
yeah.
Gaza, yeah. So, but if you guys, if you listeners out there have nonprofits locally, even if it's like the is it the Lions Club that promotes stuff? Those kinds
Kiwanis Club, Lions Club, yep.
those kinds of groups can buy her kids, and that can complement the lessons, because sometimes the new instructors or the smaller swim schools or even the bigger swim schools, they just don't, they're good at what they do, but they're not good at what they don't do. And since something's already working here, that's what I love that they're doing, is they're doing this orientation, because I get busy and we just give people lessons when they need them. And we do teach water safety, but getting everybody this, just like Miss Dana requires for her thing, is a way that you guys could help locally in your community, because everybody, you know, feels the effects of drownings, I would have to say.
And, you know, like when I was saying, this was never done to take over or replace something else. It was really an addition to help instructors feel more in control of their classes. And again, then beyond that, show parents what your child is capable of doing. You know,
they're capable of waiting. Yeah.
I don't know how you get 4 2-year-olds to sit in their bottom. I'm like, because I just asked them to.
Right. And
by asking, you tell. Yeah. You know, it's just, that's all that they know. So if I've laid that groundwork as their swim instructor, now parents can take over and take it out. And I think as an industry, we have allowed parents to think that jumping in and rolling on your back and being able to float equals water safety. And again, please don't get me wrong. I am not bad-mouthing instructors. I've been doing, this is my income, my full-time job. I am not saying that. What I am saying is because drowning numbers keep going up, we need to figure out a way to come together to say, you know what, we are missing something here. And if, again, what I truly believe, it is teaching our children to wait is a big component. What I've said in the past is that drowning is not a child problem. Drowning is an adult problem. So if we can teach the children to wait, then we can educate the parents about the other components, the other strategies of swim lessons, of fences, of when it's appropriate to wear a life jacket or whatever.
Regaining control of the conversation.
Yes.
The ploy I always have, I will bring a remote control to conversations. I bring a fake remote control to swim lessons, and I'll hold it and say, what is this? And say remote control. You control the time. You control the space. You control the way your lesson starts and begins. And to your point, Dana and Nicole, everybody listening to this is probably a great instructor, is probably teaching group lessons and private lessons, and we're not taking that away from you. What we're saying is, have you thought about what happens the 30 seconds or the 60 seconds or the 90 seconds prior to before your lesson? And how can that time be the most effective and efficient? I made up a new word. And how can you see that space from the parent perspective, from Dana's perspective, from Nicole, and go, whoa, if you all just sat for 30 seconds, I could take a deep breath and we can have a great lesson today. And I think that's what we're reminding people, is that you do have the remote control in your hand. The industry has maybe just forgot you had it, or maybe a mute was on, or the Wi-Fi got messed up, but the remote is there and the control is there. We just have to use it. So anyway.
And we've always got kids who are going to need, some extra work with this, especially, children with autism. They're going to need more practice with this. They're going to need maybe, you're not just going to be able to go in and go, well, strategy A is going to work. You got to, sometimes we've got to utilize B and C to find the mix that works for them. But again, I will tell you from experience that it absolutely works. We take the time to teach, we take the time to practice, we take the time to reinforce, and all of a sudden now I've got 250 children. All
group, all the way, all group, by the way.
I just say, okay, I'm ready. And they just march themselves over and sit down on their mats. And then, we open the pool together, and then I hop in and I invite them to come in. And again, what I'm trying to teach parents is this whole concept of children should be asking for permission before entering the water. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Our children should be waiting for an invitation to join us in the water, because
Welcome aboard, Captain.
When we let kids go into water on their own 9 times, it's that 10th time that they're going to go because we've allowed that.
Yeah.
Right?
That's a
And
great
we've got
point.
our back turned the 10th time, and they're in and they're on the bottom of the pool because they asked for permission and they tugged on our shirt and we were like, yeah. And we weren't really listening.
Or yesterday you let me in, or all the things. Yeah, it's just
it's
a mentality. Yeah.
And that goes by the wayside the very minute that we require an invitation. So absolutely. I get in and then I say, Grace, I am ready. Right. Deacon, I am ready. And they sit on their out mats until they receive that invitation to come and sit along the pool line on their in mats. And the parents are like, holy cow. I'm like, right. It's not hard.
And I think, and again, just kind of button this up, and we'll get to closing remarks in a minute. One of my big takeaways is, as an instructor, trust yourself. Trust yourself that they're going to listen, whether it's a mat, whether it's your rule. When you tell a child to do X, Y, and Z, and they've done it, trust yourself that they'll do this too. I'm nice and I'm the. Nobody says you have to be mean about it.
No, the kids love the mats. They want to sit on them.
And I think I want the audience to hear that. Trust in the fact that you can control the environment. Trust in the fact that the children will listen to you. Trust that the parents won't get. What do you mean? Are they going to sit and wait? Well, we're just going to try something different today. Well, we're going to implement a new thing that it's going to help me be better. And so using the terminology that allows you to control the dialogue, I think, is so important. Anyway,
so the wording that I use with that is always that I am doing things to create the best learning environment for the children and the best teaching environment for me. Because when those two things happen, we end up with the most amazing.
What parents can argue that, right? What parents can argue that?
No, and when they see it in action, it's just the most awesome thing when a parent can let when I say I'm ready and they can let their little 2-year-olds walk around the pool and they come over and they sit down and because the kids know exactly where they are going. It's a pretty awesome.
I do hope there's also a lot of people listening and going, I have a system like that, or I make the kids wait, because I believe, again, not discredit. I also believe there's a lot of people going, I have a system just like that, and I use different terminology, but I think there's a good, and if you're out there, speak up, share, talk about it, and let us know, because this is all under the same umbrella of controlling and creating a better environment for your student and for yourself. So what else we got, Nicole, or is that was a lot of stuff?
That is a lot of stuff. So I was going to ask you, I'm going to do show notes, but if you could say on the podcast for those listening, if they don't live where you are, but they want to buy what you have, how do they do that? If they're interested in seeing if you come, that, America's pretty big. How do they know where you're going? Maybe if they wanted you to come to their area, how do they get in contact with you?
So we'll take that in 2 parts. If families or instructors want a water safety kit, you can just go to watersafetywithmissdana.com. And then there's a tab on there that says water safety kits. A kit is with shipping and everything. It's $79.97. So you get the mat, you get the blue barricade tape, the red barricade tape, a little fun coloring booklet, and then you get a video that's the instructional video. So it's about 25 minutes long. I run through 6 different water environments talking about how we set it up in a bathroom. I don't use it. Here's how we set it up at swim lessons. I didn't do that one, but I do have that. And I'm happy to, if there's any instructors out there that want to talk about how to implement this within their program, I would love to have those conversations, because again, it's a very positive addition to whatever you are already doing. And again, like Wes said, if you're doing it already, high fives to you. I'm so proud. I mean, that's awesome. If you want an actual awesome, cool thing, let's talk about that. But now, as far as being on the road, so
don't go off the phone without telling that story, because you grew from a few years ago.
Yeah, so I did the big trip. My first trip was 750 schools, and then last spring break, I spent 3 weeks in Florida, visited another 350 schools, and again found a couple schools that had, and again, this is Florida. It blew my mind. Not one single school had any information about water safety. And so now that's what I expect. It's always now I'm almost shocked if I find something, which is really disappointing all
It
the way
is.
around. Like,
But you left Florida and you went,
oh, so then so
yep,
last summer I spent 3 months on the road.
there you go.
I left Virginia and I drove up through Chicago, and that's when I got to see Wes. And I ended
Hmm.
up all the way out in Seattle, then drove down to San Diego, and then came back. In that trip, I visited 1,500 schools.
Bingo.
So, and again, I'm not even making it up. People go, "Oh, she's lying." I'm not.
We followed
I
your trek
I
on Facebook,
asked. I
All
believe
did.
me.
was,
We all followed
Yeah, we
on
did.
social media. We're like, where? It was like, where's Waldo? We're like,
My
yeah.
daughter got a
Here's the
map
truth.
out. Yeah,
But
we learned
going
states.
into these schools, I would ask. I'd say, this is who I am, and I'm a water safety educator, and I'd love to leave some information with you about water safety and drowning prevention that you can share with your families, unless you're already working with somebody in your community. And they were
Of
like,
course,
yeah, no. I'm like,
unless you're already working.
has anybody ever come in to give you information to start this relationship? And they're like, no. So yeah, so I'm on a mission.
Yeah.
I can't. It seems like such a small number of schools. I'm doing
But
what I can. But this summer I will head out again.
and
I'll leave it.
there are audience members that do have relationships with schools, and what I was going to
Yeah.
overtly say is that if you do have a relationship with school, and Miss Dana's open to it, reach out and say, hey, if
Yes.
you're going to be in Texas or Chicago or wherever, I am in with this program and I do this, and I'm in with this school, and whether we can buy a package or not, or buy a program or not, I already have a relationship. So let's tag up. And I
Well,
think that would be a takeaway, because we're, like you said, we're just out here trying to do the right thing. And
yeah.
so, yeah.
And just trying to get the message out,
Yeah.
that's because the more parents. So when I go into a school, the reason why I do preschool, so I only do preschools, daycares, and then schools that work with children with autism, because I'm in the under 5 crowd. That's who
Fair.
I'm very popular with that crowd. So that's
Fair.
who I go to. But again, if I go into a school that's got 200 children and they're willing to put out information on their resource tables, and every month I can send them an email with a different water safety topic that they can put on their blog or put into their newsletter.
And you're local to that? Yeah.
I mean, it's just going to go, 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 go.
Yeah,
So I will
it.
be again gone for 3 months. The route will be a little bit different. I'm heading up to Wisconsin because I'm going to be speaking at an autism
Yes.
convention up there. I'm doing 2 presentations up there, and then I will swing down through Minneapolis. I've got some connections there, and then I'm going to kind of take a new route, and then I'll go down and up through the New England states this year, because
Look for her on Facebook.
I haven't been up there. Yeah. So I will have a website, or the website is watersafetywarriors.com.
There we go.
That will be updated in the next little bit. If anybody is out there and has a school in kind of along the route or in one of the big cities I'll be in, I'm taking sponsorships for schools. It's a $75 sponsorship. Will get a school an entire packet of information, posters, postcards, coloring sheets that go home, and hopefully the parents will go, what is this? And then again, continuing education for these parents every single month. So yeah, so this trip I'm hoping to do 1,000 schools.
Wow.
And we'll see.
We'll get a thermometer like they do for fundraising. We'll cross them off as they go.
Yeah. I mean, I'm going to go. It doesn't matter whether or not the money is raised or the schools are all sponsored. I'm going to go. And because really and truly, this is what I was put on this planet to do. And awesome. And I'm grateful. I'm grateful that I've met y'all through this journey. And
thanks for
look
being
forward
here.
to meeting other people along the ride. I'll have my complete route up probably within about 2 weeks. It'll be
there.
Up.
We go.
So if you're in one of those
tuned.
cities where I am, send me a little message or a text. It would be great.
And more things to follow in the fall too that we'll be teasing as well. So, Nicole, always great guest, always finding gems. This has been so awesome. And Dana, it's such a pleasure to see you again. I can't thank you guys enough.
Yes, Miss Dana, thank you so much for being on here tonight.
Thanks, you guys. I appreciate you both very much.
All right, for our audience listeners, I have a few announcements and then we're going to close it. Next week, stay tuned because we have a new guest. Also, next week, we have 2 episodes that I will put up and out there. Usually we air one every week. Next week, May 15th is International Water Safety Day, and Wes and I have recorded an extra special interview that we will put up on the 15th. And as Wes mentioned, we have a teaser, and we'll just keep teasing about it until we're ready to announce. So if you want to know, you just have
Those
to
are
come
the
back.
worst.
Yeah, you just have
It's
to come back
coming.
and listen.
Pay
And
attention.
we'll drop all the good stuff when we're ready to, spill the beans. But definitely come back, and this is another great one to share with your friends. So make sure you share it. If you're not on YouTube, I put these on YouTube with video. And if you're listening, we've got it pretty much on any platform, so you can share it with your friends and pass it along. And again, we want zero drownings. We hope everybody stays safe this summer. Have an enjoyable week until we see you next week. Take care.
Bye, everybody. Thanks.